The phantom shitter that my coworker and I had to clean up after. So, I work at a restaurant, and the other night we had this sweet elderly couple come in for dinner. They finished their meal, and the gentleman excused himself to the restroom. No big deal, right? Well, he was in there for like an hour until his wife finally went in to retrieve him. Fast forward a few hours. Now we're closing up, and it's my turn to clean the bathroom. I walk in, and oh my gosh, the horror. The toilet was clogged to the brim with poop. The trash can was overflowing with paper towels smeared with, you guessed it, poop. And there was poop on the floor. And the smell. Oh, the smell. I'm telling you, I couldn't even. So my coworker Dan, bless his soul, took one for the team. He unclogged the toilet, wiped up the poop on the floor, and I had to tackle the trash can. I pulled out the bag, and lo and behold, there was a rogue turd hiding underneath the trash bag in the trash can. I don't even want to know how that happened. Even after Dan wiped down the walls with bleach, the bathroom reeked for days. It's only just starting to smell normal, but it was so bad you could smell it in the dining room. One of the cooks has dubbed this guy the Phantom Shitter. So, yeah, that was our night. Hope someone finds this as hilarious as we did, after the trauma subsided, of course. Can't stop thinking about that dancer. Can't say I'm a seasoned vet of the clubs. Only been to one I liked. But my friends, who are the nerdy/relationship variety, I might as well be Hugh Hefner. I started going to one just to kill time to avoid traffic one day, and get a few brews. Definitely stuck out like a sore thumb. Graphic tee, sneakers. Sitting alone toward the back on a Thursday afternoon. I was practically screaming, never done this before. Saw the whole lineup of dancers. Gave a few bucks for everyone since I was one of 4 people in there. And like a classic movie cliche, as I'm about to leave, she steps out. For context, my type is thin, petite, smaller breasts, and cute face. Nothing crazy. And nothing against the Carmen Electra/Pam Anderson. As to the club world, but they aren't for me. She probably saw the fuck me eyes pop out of my head like Saturday morning cartoons. She came over in her ridiculously high stilettos and tilted her head in pity, saying, "Can I come sit with you?" Holy shit. Play it cool. Yeah, sure. Nailed it. She finishes her dance and comes over. I'm racking my mind for anything I can say besides marry me. She says, "I'm Lily, Pat, fake name, sorry." We go through the usual questions. How's it going? How long you're working till? How long you been here? What's your ring size? You know, the basics, maybe not that last one. We start talking about interests in our jobs. We actually like the same things, mutual love for animals. Could not have scripted this if I tried. The conversation flowed like with no one else before. She talked about things she disliked about the job. How she had to work the champagne room with another dancer for trash construction workers. Nothing out of the ordinary until the other dancer starts blowing the group. Just terrible. Had to fight the urge to ask how much it cost. Finally, I get the courage to ask her for a dance after an hour. Looking back on it, she was a trooper for sitting with me that long. Granted, there were 4 people in the whole club. We go into a side room, and I'm more nervous than I've ever been. I was less nervous to lose my virginity. I sit, she strips, straddles me and runs her hand through my hair. "You're cute." No, I'm in heaven. She grinds and touches me, tits and ass in my face, and a very noticeable erection in my pants. I was self-conscious about it for a second, but figured in her line of work it's common, and somewhat of a compliment. She whispered in my ear, "Do you want to go to the champagne room?" Fortunately for this story, my rational mind finally chimed in. As much as I'd love to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on you, I can't today. Then in a snap, after just one song, she says, "Okay, let's take a break." What? Huh, that's a thing? What about the 2-song rule? Did I do something wrong? Was it the boner? I swear it's a compliment. I hesitantly say, "All right," and we leave the room. I tip her anyway to try and get back on her good side, but no dice. And just like that, it was over. First heartbreak at the club. Crushed. She bid me adieu and went on her way. She took me for about $80 in the span of an hour plus. I close my tab and go home, learning my first lesson to club. Don't fall in love. Don't fall in love. Clifford the Big Red Corpse. When I was 13 years old, my local church was holding a fundraising event, and it involved a really big pre-owned book sale. To promote the massive amount of children's books they were desperately trying to get rid of, someone rented a cheap, well-worn Clifford mascot costume. The fabric in the joints had rubbed away, and the ears on the headpiece looked like they were rotting off. There were some troubling stains on the ass of the suit, and it certainly smelled like someone had shit themselves before dying inside of it. One of the high school choir boys had, at the overbearing pressure of his mom, volunteered to wear the suit for the event. On the day of the fundraiser, he purposely made himself throw up by drinking 5 liters of dried pepper in 20 minutes, which convinced the adults he was too sick to play the role of Clifford. The priest went to each volunteer, begging them to do it, and were only met with very firm no's. Then on of them came to me, a tiny 8th grade girl who was just trying to meet the minimum 10 hours of volunteering needed for my Catholic school to pass me for the year. Not only did the priest offer to sign my volunteer sheet and fully fill out, thus completing my requirements when I had done maybe 2 hours of volunteering total, but he also handed me $20 and said, "Jesus suffered for you, so you can tough this out for some little kids." The worst pain I ever experienced in my life was when I was 21 and my appendix ruptured, which also caused some cysts on my ovaries to burst as well. I passed out several times from the pain on the way to the hospital, and when I came to after the emergency surgery, one of the nurses smiled at me and said, "Well, honey, you just experienced a pain worse than natural childbirth." When I tell you I would rather have my rotten appendix violently shoved back in my body and have it removed all over again than ever wear that Clifford suit again, I mean it. The stench inside the mascot head made me feel like I was in that scene of Spirited Away when the gross mud spirit slops his way through the bathhouse, and the smell was so bad that it spoiled food. My eyes burned, the saliva in my mouth dried up, and the heat from my own breath made it stick to my pores. Inside that suit, I realized that God was either dead or a cruel creator, because no loving God would allow something as foul as that Clifford suit to exist. I ended up sitting for most of the hour-long commitment, because I easily became dizzy while standing. I was told to act like a Disney mascot, waving happily and moving with excitement to welcome the little kids over to the books. All I did was sit in a small chair, staring straight ahead with my paw-gloved hands set on my knees, desperately grasping hold onto whatever bits of reality I could. I wish I could say I blacked out for most of it. I really wish I did. But no, I remember almost every minute I spent in that sticky red-colored fursuit. The worst part about it all is that every child that came by was terrified of Clifford the decaying corpse. One mother really tried to entice her toddler to get a picture with me, but the kid screamed like he was being flayed alive when he was pushed towards me. I don't blame him. I don't blame any of the kids for being scared. It was a scary costume. I was scared while wearing it. I'm wondering if the kids sensed my fear. I had nightmares about being trapped in that suit, or the suit coming to life and hunting me down for at least a month afterwards. The only small positive come from it was that the older high school volunteer kids had a weird kind of respect for me from then on. One of them said I reminded him of his uncle who served in Vietnam. I understand why. My husband dreamed I was cheating. Here is what the dream was. My husband took me to a sushi restaurant, and we sat across the booth from each other. While waiting for our food, some guy sits down next to me, and we cuddle up together in front of my husband. Husband starts to get upset, and then also notices that the guy and I are wearing matching shirts, which is something that we do as a couple. This enrages my husband, and he curses us out and leaves the restaurant, ready to kick me out of the house and end our relationship forever. Then he wakes up. I wake up with my angry husband in my face. He tells me about the dream and says angrily, "You don't ever be matchy-matchy with anyone but me." And then he walks out and was upset about his own dream for hours after. I lost my virginity to water. I, 16 female, a few years back went on a camping trip with my family, like we do every year. And every year I bring a friend. We decided to go boating that day, and my friend and I want to go tubing. And my grandma was not holding back. She flung us off the tube so fast that I did like 7 cartwheels over the water, and the water shot my ass at 90 miles per hour as I screamed, "My ASS." And my family just laughed when I got to the boat. I had to pull my swim bottoms to the side because I couldn't stop violently shitting myself. I hurt so back. My butthole and I side were cleaned out by dirty lake water. We had to end the boating trip earlier. because I couldn't stop crying because of pain. When I got back to camper, I was screaming and crying while sitting myself on the toilet, and my asshole was bleeding because of how hard the water shot up there. How my middle school gym class recreated the Holocaust. Obviously over-exaggerated title aside, here is the story. I was in 8th grade and was in gym class. Gym was one of those easy A classes where the expectations weren't so high as long as you weren't being an ass. However, one thing that was graded rather strictly was dressing out, going to the locker room, and changing into athletic clothing, as it meant we were keeping check on our hygiene. So the day began as usual. We all got into our formation for attendance, and out coaches gave us a quick brief on what we were going to do for the day. We were dismissed to the locker rooms, and everything was as per usual until it wasn't. Me and the boys entered the locker room and was greeted with an extremely foul stench. So bad some had to take a step outside to catch a breath. Those of us who went in quickly agreed that we ought to find and remove the source of the stench. Being eager to get this over with so we can move on, we split up and searched the room for the source. After a few minutes, someone shouted. I found it and pointed to a trash can next to a locker. So the 20 or so of us huddled around the trash can, and to our bewilderment and horror, we laid eyes on the biggest shit you could imagine. If I had to guess as to its size, it was maybe 9 inches long and 1.5 inches in diameter. Fucking massive. So we're over here discussing our options on how to deal with it when one has shouted, I got this, and sprayed a whole bottle of AXE body spray into the trash can. The fragrance of the spray somehow mixed with the god-awful smell of the shit and dispersed throughout the entire locker room. Everyone was fucking dying. Some of us were covering our noses. Others were trying to fan away the smell. Our coach heard the commotion, but by the time he got there, we were marching out of the locker room like it was a CS chamber. Good times. Whipped her for suing my friend when she didn't come to my wedding. Not the a-hole. I, 25F, recently got married to my 25M husband in Bali, Indonesia in January. It was a destination wedding, but my parents and his parents paid for their own plane tickets and hotel. But we paid for our friends' plane tickets and hotel stays. Each plane ticket was about $2,000 US, and hotel was maybe about $150 to $300 for a week. My friend Gemma brought along her newlywed husband John along, but paid for his plane ticket. The problem is that Gemma and John did not show up to my wedding. Gemma took the free plane ticket to Bali in the hotel room, and when I asked her why she didn't show up, she said that since they couldn't afford their own honeymoon, that this was a perfect opportunity, and that Jim decided that he didn't feel like going. I was really hurt by this since Gemma and I have been friends for over 10 years. Whipped her if I took her to small claims court for the money I spent on the plane ticket and hotel. Update. I messaged Gemma per multiple comments advising me to invoice her for the plane ticket and hotel room, but I did something a little better. I wanted to get proof, so if I had to go to court, it would be easier to win. I messaged her this. Hey, sorry for being so distant, but I just wanted to talk to you about Bali. I'm hurt that you didn't show up to the ceremony. I pulled a lot of strings to ensure that you could come, and then you didn't show up. Did you think I paid for the trip just so you could honeymoon with John? She replied, I've missed you a lot, and I know why the trip was for you, our wedding, but John didn't want to go BC. He felt like your wedding ruined the illusion of the trip being our honeymoon, and that you'd understand. I replied, no, I don't understand. You took advantage of me, and that's not what real friends do. So I'm invoicing you $2,387.53 for the cost of the plane ticket and hotel room. I will give you 30 days, and after that I will be taking legal action. I received no response, but she's been posting subliminal quotes on Instagram that are along the lines of entitled friends and having snakes in your life. Thank you all for your verdicts and help. Edit/update part 2. I didn't think this could get worse, but here we are. I didn't respond to any of the subliminal messages she posted about me on social media, and I've been very quiet while I've been getting my ducks in a row for the litigation. But this past Friday, she sent me a 3-page audit of financial and emotional contributions from 2015 present. I wish I was fucking joking. The audits. She itemized every dinner or lunch we've ever ate together. She estimated $18 per meal. Gas money for driving to and from hangouts. A birthday gift from 2017 that she now claims she went into debt for. Time spent emotionally supporting me after my dad passed. She said she took on the role of grief counselor for me, even though I talked to her on the phone about it once for 30 minutes. One time she helped me move apartments. She wanted to be paid for her labor. An emotional distress caused by me threatening litigation. Her grand total? $2,412.09, which is conveniently within $25 of what I invoiced her. She then told me that if we're really keeping score, that I actually owe her $24.56. I think I stared at the document for 10 minutes in silence in shock from the audacity, because this bitch is delusional. To clarify, I never asked her to cook for me while I was in college. She did pay for lunches, but when I definitely returned the favor big time once I graduated. I bought her many gifts over the years. I've let her stay at my house several times when she and John argued, and I have also lended a shoulder for her cry on when she had difficult times in life. But apparently being a friend is now billable. I decided to give the message a thumbs down, because if I respond, I will be extremely disrespectful with the anger I am facing. I cannot wait for these 30 days to be over, because I will be suing the fuck out of her. Ada for expecting a girl to get off a treadmill in the gym. The gym I go to doesn't have a lot of treadmills, and I recently started running. I went to the gym with my partner last night, and all the treadmills were in use. I used some weight machines to start, then went back to the treadmills. I noticed there was a girl just sat on the treadmill while her friend was using the treadmill next to her. She'd been there for at least 15 minutes not using it. So I went up and asked if she was planning to use it. She said she was with her friend, but I just said she can wait next to her friend's machine instead of taking up machines from people who want to use them. She shrugged her shoulders and refused to move. A woman comes over and asks what's happening, so I explain it. She said she's a girl's mother and that I shouldn't be telling her daughter to move. I just said her daughter shouldn't be taking up machines she has no intention of using. She said her daughter is feeling to sit there if she wants and that she's doing nothing wrong. I just said I can see where her daughter gets her entitlement from. She said I was out of order for commenting on her parent, but I just said she should be a better parent if she can't handle any criticism. A member of staff came over, and when I explained what was going on, asked the daughter to move off the treadmill or leave the gym. My GF said maybe I shouldn't have argued with the mother, but I don't see how I've done anything wrong. AIT for asking the girl to get off a treadmill in the gym, then arguing with her mother. AITA for kicking out my friend, who I let live rent-free for 8 months, after his room and bathroom became a biohazard, then telling him, no wonder your ex broke up with you in the heat of the moment. Okay, so for context, I'm 28, and my friend is 24, and about 8 months ago his girlfriend broke up with him. They were together for 5 years, so it hit him pretty badly. Anyway, I live in a small 2-bedroom apartment, so after thinking it over for a bit, I offered to let him stay with me rent-free. He still had to pay for his own food, utilities, and anything else he wanted. At first it was fine. He didn't leave his room, and mainly kept himself as expected, but 6 months down the line, honestly his room and then soot are fucking disgusting. His room smells so bad you can faintly smell it from the kitchen. I just check his room, and he has piles of bags of Uber Eats shit and a literal pile of garbage bags in one corner. Don't get me started on his soot. His bathroom is a fuck black mold growing in the shower corners, shower head and window. Hair everywhere. Toothpaste splattered on the mirror. Toilet not flushed sometimes. Wet towels left on the floor until they stink. I've slowly started telling him he has to clean it up and sort himself out more and more as it gets more filthy. Until yesterday when he told me I have to stop nagging him like his girlfriend used to, and that comment got the best of me, I'm not gonna lie. Immediately I got so frustrated and kicked him out while screaming at him about how filthy the place is. And when I threw him out, I screamed, no wonder your girlfriend broke up with you if you live like this. Honestly, I'm not proud of what I said, but I refuse to enable this sort of lifestyle, especially since it affects my quality of life. Now I'm happy to let him keep staying here, but I've told him he needs to order a cleaner to clean shit up, or I'm throwing his stuff out by the end of the month. As he was leaving, he told me I'm a terrible friend, and I should have more empathy. And while I do get he is struggling, it's been 8 months, and I feel like he is starting to take advantage of me. I asked a grown man for his ID. He was so happy. I was new to the position and didn't really have a real job before. Well, I volunteered at a charity shop and bookshop. Plus my autism making communication difficult. So when my training came up about asking customers for age verification, I asked everyone for it, old ladies, grown men, etc. But this one guy stuck with me. I asked for his ID, and he got very giddy about it. He was a tradesman and in his mid-30s, saying how he was going to tell his wife about this and how it made his day, smiling in all sorts. This was at 7 a.m. in the morning. I see him from time to time, and it makes me smile when I think how happy he was. I work at a corner shop / petrol station. Like Riley does. So I want to share a little story about my 5-year-old. She saw a clip for Inside Out 2 and said, I want to watch that. So we sit down and watch it. Her favorite character was Anxiety. Definitely will be unpacking that as she gets older, LOL. After the movie, she said she liked it and that was it. Fast forward a few weeks. I am picking her up from pre-K and she says, Daddy, I love you and Mommy and our dog, Suni. I also love myself like Riley does. She loves herself. Daddy, do you love yourself? I was not prepared for that deep analysis from my 5-year-old. I took a breath and tried to come up with a quick answer, but I guess she noticed my hesitation and said, Daddy, you don't love yourself? You got to. I love you very much, so you should love yourself too. I am still processing because of my insecurities and flaws, but man, from the mouths of babes. Okay, long, useless story of fuckery ahead. A few years ago, I was promoted to a management position within the software company I work for. I was told I was handpicked for the job, and though it was a big promotion, I would not receive a pay increase until I had the team performing at minimum required performance standards. 2 years in, I had the team running the best numbers it had ever seen, far exceeding the minimum standards. Every quarter, I asked to be reviewed for a raise, and every quarter reason was found to skip the review. Finally, I brought HR into the mix because fuck you. I'm nailing this and busting my ass over here. Miraculously, a date was set for the end of the month. Funny how that works out. Alas, a week before my review date, where I would surely be granted my rate increase, my direct supervisor, a micromanaging weasel, a man, and the CEO of the company, rewrote the minimum requirements to just barely exceed my team's current projected stats. When I came to him, fists clenched, he explained this move as an unrelated adjustment to compensate for improved average performance. Totally. Legit. Of course. With this change in place a week later, he took the opportunity with the HR director in attendance to express his deep and profound disappointment with my performance and to warn me that he expected me to go the extra mile next quarter or face disciplinary action since my team had failed to make the new grade. I was angry. So angry. I wanted to complain, but hey, it's the CEO. Who am I going to complain to? He knew that too and sneered at me anytime he could. That's why I worked even harder, neglected my family and personal health, and worked to drive my team to their limits. We fucking made it too. I was going to show that Dick Stain he couldn't win unless he cheated. When it became apparent that he was going to be forced to eat the pile of shit he shoveled to me in the previous meeting with HR and attendance, he called me into a meeting to design a training handout for the team. We bounced ideas back and forth, but something was weird. Every time I tried to assign a task to someone or set a due date on the handout, the CEO dodged it. By the end of the meeting, we had accomplished nothing solid, and he tabled the assignment for a later date. Because it was tabled, and I assumed we would reschedule a follow-up, I filed my notes away and moved on with other work. A month after that planning meeting, I was pulled into HR and written up for failing to issue the training handout we had tabled. The CEO was in attendance and brought his personally typed meeting notes, clearly outlining that I was assigned a task that day. I had no recourse. He was lying. I said as much and was treated like a combative child. He acted insulted and incredulous. By the end, I was sent home for the day with a demotion off of the team I had built and worked so hard for. I still don't know why the CEO had it out for me. He hired in his most ass-lickingest assistant manager to replace me and told everyone he could how bad I did in that position. I'll never be chosen for something like that again because this fuck decided he didn't like me. That's it. No revenge. No justice. The bad guy wins. Maybe one day he'll die in a fiery car crash. One can only hope. My first year of college, Kinda lonely as fuck because now I'm 18 and still never had a boyfriend. I was a photography major taking random photos with my chunky DSLR when I noticed a group of hot guys tossing around a football across from me. One hot one came over and introduced himself to me, and I quickly knew where this was going. Then he said, "My friend over there thinks you're cute, the one in the white shirt." I saw a guy in a white shirt, and he was almost a midget. He had to be like 4 feet 11 inches with short arms and legs. According to the internet, a midget is legally an inch shorter. Anyway, I didn't want to laugh and turn him down, so we became friends. I even snapped a photo of him. One day, I had no classes for 3 hours, and it was pouring outside, so everyone was inside with nowhere to sit. He said his house was a few minutes away and that his aunt was home, so we can go there. I hesitated a lot, but hey, why not? His house was half an hour away and in the middle of Farmville Bumblefuck, completely secluded in the woods. With it being dark and rainy, I felt this was a sign. We got there and he lied. Nobody was home. Red flag number 1. I put my backpack down and I noticed pictures of him wrangling baby cows and shit. I asked him WTF that was, and apparently he is a cowboy in competitions. He was a midget cowboy, literally the most fucking random thing ever. Then while watching TV on the sofa, he popped a chicken nugget boner, then tried to pull a move on me to force sex upon me. He was trying to wrangle me. After some struggle, I jumped off the couch and pulled out my handy-dandy box cutter for situations like this. You know, a midget cowboy trying to rape you. I told him to drive me back to school, or else I'll stab him. He dropped me off, yelled, "CUNT," and drove off. Apparently his friend said that he uses his shortness to pick up chicks, and usually they pity fuck him. I still have that photo on my camera. When my friends don't believe the fact that he was a midget, I show them. I still keep that box cutter with me wherever I go. TLDR, a midget cowboy with a chicken nugget-sized dick tried to rape me. When my best friend came out to me, before I could say anything, I projectile vomited. Not once, but twice. Right after she said the words, "I'm gay." Luckily, it didn't land on her, but it was pretty messy. She assumed this was me showing my disapproval, ran out of my house crying, and went home. So here I am, with an upset best friend who thinks I don't love her anymore because she's gay, covered in my own vomit, which is also covering my kitchen floor, and enough nausea to take down a horse. Not to mention horrific guilt for upsetting my friend. I cleaned myself and kitchen floor up and attempted to call her. No answer. I took some nausea medication and took a nap to see if the nausea would subside. I wake up 12 hours later, and you guessed it, covered in my own vomit. Again, I went to the doctor and apparently had a really severe stomach virus. She prescribed me some meds and I was fine. I called my best friend again and she finally answered. I explained to her that I was totally fine with her being gay and was 100% supportive of her. I explained the stomach virus situation and told her I had directions on how to take care of myself to prove it. 2 years later, we're still best friends. And now we love to laugh about my projectile vomiting.